Online, you can find countless articles and videos addressing a seemingly simple topic. Where did Windows 9 go? The common consensus is that Windows 8 was such a failure that Microsoft decided to make a considerable rebrand with Windows 10, a major rebrand of the Windows operating system. But that's not true. While Windows 8 was a flop commercially, Windows 9 was forgotten for different reasons. The first reason people automatically jump to why Windows 9 isn't around is, like I said before, that Windows 8 was arguably Microsoft's biggest failure. Windows 10 was seen as a refresh of the OS that was made to distance itself from 8. But why was it a failure in the first place? Windows 8 was released over a decade ago in 2012, where it set out to do a monumental task: one-up the universally beloved Windows 7 while also being able to conform to not only PCs but phones and tablets as well. The latter focus meant Windows 8 had to work on the lowest common denominator, so to speak. The Start menu, a classic feature that helps optimize your workflow, is gone. It came back for Windows 10 and 11, so the lack of it was apparent. In its stead was a Start screen that could be converted to work on phones and tablets. Not only did it replace the Start menu, it replaced the entire desktop. Needless to say, it never came back for Windows 11 and was only an alternative on Windows 10. Now, instead of a desktop on Windows 8, you get Live Tiles. Live Tiles are like phone widgets, which are great for Windows phones and tablets. Guess what they're not good for, though? That's right, a PC. Instead of optimizing your workflow, it hinders you based on how fast you're able to identify the correct tile. In Windows 10, Live Tiles stuck around in the Start menu before being removed in 11. Being relegated to the Start menu was useful, however, because instead of relying on them the entire time, they pop up whenever you need them. In short, Windows 8 shifted too far to appease the mobile device market that the PC version seemed like an afterthought. However, even failures can, and often do, lead to success. But that success wasn't Windows 9. It was Windows 10, which was released on July of 2015 and lauded by Microsoft as the one Windows to rule them all. This would be the definitive Windows experience. There would be no foreseeable successor, only constantly updating OS that would work on many different hardware devices, or slightly different OSs on different devices. The PC, Windows Phone, Surface Tablet, the Surface Hub, which is kind of like a TV, the HoloLens, which is a VR device used by corporations, and Xbox One were among the supported hardware. The difference is that Windows 10 was actually integrated well. The OS being tweaked for every device helped make a unified brand without needing the PC version to accommodate mobile devices or the Xbox. This allowed Windows 10 to hold a 2/3 market share of all Windows devices nearly 10 years after its release. And seeing as it will be supported until at most 2032, it's safe to say that it was a huge success that left Windows 8 as a shameful discarded OS. While it got an 8.1 update that fixed some mistakes, the damage was done, and the number 8 will always be taboo as far as Microsoft is concerned. But why is the number 9 seemingly just as bad? There's no denying that Microsoft wanted to get away from Windows 8, but that surely couldn't be the reason to skip Windows 9, could it? No. Mary Jo Foley, who reports on Microsoft regularly, wrote that Microsoft went instead with Windows 10 because they wanted to signify that the coming Windows release would be the last major Windows update. While this isn't a primary source, this does help us understand that Microsoft chose 10 as a number to signify a forever OS. To their credit, 10 does sound better than 9 in that regard. Another reason is less credible, though more plausible. With the presence of Windows 95-98, many have speculated that the applications and code wouldn't be able to differentiate between the OSs, since programs use Windows 9 to refer to 95-98. Microsoft then decided to name their next OS 10, avoiding technical difficulties in the process. However, there's an official report of the reason that Windows 9 doesn't exist. Business Insider says that allegedly, during an event back when Windows 10 was released in 2015, Microsoft employees wore shirts with binary in the shape of their logo. One of the quadrants can be decoded to read Windows 10 because 789. So therefore, the real reason Windows 9 doesn't exist is because Windows 7 was hungry. Anyways. All of these options, save for the last, may be true. But according to Extreme Tech, Windows chief Terry Myerson says that there was never a plan for Windows 9 to be released. Myerson hinted at a version of Windows that was to never be, called Windows 1. This would fit in with the Xbox One branding, which ran in altered versions of Windows OS, as well as software like OneDrive or OneNote. However, this idea had the same complications as a speculative Windows 9 would have. Windows 1 would have technical difficulties with programs confusing it with the original's Windows 1.0 from way back in 1985. There we have it. Windows 9 wasn't thought of because that didn't reflect the direction Microsoft's branding was headed at the time. They wanted to make a unified brand and unified OS that would not have just fixed but replaced Windows 8. Windows 1 would have signified that, but that would cause headaches for programs confusing it with OneNote. The branding of Windows 10 wasn't entirely just to distance it from Windows 8, though I'm sure 1 and 10 were partially intended to signify that. It was rather to show a new era of Windows that united all devices under a long-running, diverse OS. If you want to hear my voice for even longer than this video, consider my video on the ethics, or lack thereof, of AI. Anyways, have a great rest of your day.